Hey there. So for this region right here, sorry, I was so excited I got a head start. Anyway, if you take this and set it equal to 0, you could factor and find out that x equals 0 and 2. And then because of the negative x squared, it's an upside down parabola like this. This means that it's the x-axis, so really it's talking about this region right in here. Now take that and rotate it about the y-axis. So then we have to decide, is it the disk method? Is it the washer method? Or is it the shell method? Well, washer is when the shape has a hole in it. So for example, if there was another little parabola underneath this and it says between those two, well, that would have this hole in it, and washers have a hole in them. Could it be the disk method? Well, before deciding is it disk or is it shell, what you should do is make the representative rectangle. Now, if I make the rectangle go horizontal, then there's a problem, because in order to find the length of that, you would have to take the point on the right, which is the parabola, minus the point on the left, which is the same parabola, and then it would say its length is 0. So that's not such a good idea. Instead, the representative rectangle should go like this. That way, it's always going from the parabola to the x-axis. So even if I draw it right here, it's still going to go from the parabola to the x-axis, the parabola to the x-axis. And then I can find the length, just take the top, which is the parabola, minus 0, in other words, this function minus this function, and then I can find the length of this. Now, when this rectangle is parallel to this axis, so when these two are parallel, that is the shell method. And the general formula for the shell method is you integrate 2 pi times the radius times the height. Now, the radius. So for the radius, you have to measure from the axis of rotation. So you need to measure from here out to where the rectangle is. Now at the beginning, that would be 0, because it would be right here on the y-axis, and then it would be a 0.1, a 0.2, 0.3. So in other words, as x gets bigger, this rectangle gets farther out from the y-axis. So that means that the radius in this case is just equal to x. Then the height. So the height is what I was talking about before. That would just be this function minus this function. So now we're ready to get to work. The volume is going to be integrate 2 pi times the radius, which is x, times the height, which really just comes from the parabola, negative x squared plus 2x. And then we're integrating with respect to x, and x is going to go from 0 to 2. So before integrating, I'm going to do a little bit of algebra. One is factor out the 2 pi, and then go ahead and distribute this x. So then there would be negative x cubed plus 2x squared, and we're integrating from 0 to 2. Now go ahead and integrate. So this one will become negative x to the 4th over 4. And this one would become x to the 3 over 3. And then evaluate from 0 to 2. So substituting the 2 first of all, 2 to the 4th is 16. Then substituting the 2, that's going to be 2 cubed is 8, so this is going to be 16 thirds. And then when you substitute 0, both of these are going to be 0, so subtract 0. And then for these fractions, it's going to be negative 16 divided by 4 plus 16 divided by 3. Get that as a fraction. It's 4/3. So then we have 2 pi times 4/3. And then nothing reduces, that is 8 pi over 3.